Basically, I will be sharing 4 slides, 4 content. First is motivation. This will be very minor contents. Second will be how to write, that is basically the improving writing skills in high impact journal papers. Second content will be impact assessment, particularly citation impact, its pros and cons, how to address professionally. And finally, I will be addressing a little bit about ethics, publication ethics. That's also important. Need to be aware, some of the right things, some of the wrong things. So I'll move to the second slides. So this is my second file, and this will be quite second focus. But I'll give more focus on citation impact, because this one, I think on an average, in most cases, you have gone through this maybe through other speakers, but I have some unique features. I will give special focus in all those areas, particularly how to address novelties, the addressing methodologies, scope, those which we are facing some challenges. So I'll put a little bit more effort, but I'll be slightly faster in this presentation, and probably it will be good to spend more time on citation impact, because I feel that is the hottest topic so far based on my experience. Okay, so this basically will be how we can improve our writing skill. Of course, many of you already published, you already have the skills, but again, nobody is perfect. We can improve our skills day by publishing again and again. As you have seen in my profile, I have almost 700 journal and conference papers. So this is again, by doing this, actually, I improve myself. So again, sometimes reviewers, editors also ask, despite having these numbers, having these skills, experience, editors sometimes ask me to go to school and learn how to write paper, how to read, how to publish paper. But yeah, sometimes it is enjoyable. Okay, you can see, so it is a peer review process, so it is not that easy. So there are a lot of barricades there. So if you can overcome all these barricades, obstacles, so from your supervisors, from the collaborators, from your co-authors, and finally reviewers, editors, and so on, and then you will enjoy your success. So it is not an easy process. So that's why you need to go through this training process. So now I'll be talking a little bit more about the how to form titles, abstract, introduction, methodology, because these are the key components in almost all disciplines of research areas. So title is an important because this will attract the readers. If title is not attractive, catchy at the first instance, probably readers will not go through your paper. So that's why you need to pay a little bit of attention. So I will share some of my experience, how to write a catchy title, how to write an attractive titles. I'll give some examples as well. This is important, but paper will never be rejected because of title. So keep in your mind. So this always can be, there always will be rooms for improvement. Tell the title of the manuscript needs to be short and relevant to the subject matter. That's why in the next slide, I will tell you how to form the titles. So as short as possible and relevant to the subject matter. Sometimes what you write 3 sentences, 4 sentences, or 5 sentences too long, without thinking, without critically thinking, just whatever you thought, maybe partial content, not the full content of the papers is reflected. Sometimes I think without just thinking, these are normally those who are beginners, it might happen. So that's why you have a look also some of the titles in your area when you are reading the papers, when you are writing titles, have a look some of the titles, those which are highly cited, published in top journals and so on. These basically will attract the reader's attention if they feel that this title is attractive, and then they will read the abstract, introduction, and there is a possibility that they will cite your paper, they will use your paper. So that's why title need to be a little bit attractive. Be specific, not too general. Avoid jargon and abbreviations. Basically, sometimes we put, for example, the mathematical jargon. So, you know, the mathematical jargon is maybe might be known only for you or in your specific field. So some other researcher might not be interested, and it will distract reading your papers, will go through your papers. So that's why, in my opinion, always try these types of jargon and abbreviations in the title. So this is my approach. So mind map. So when you are writing, forming a good title, write a few keywords. So you know the content. So you write 8 to 10 keywords, and of course, you know, 8 to 10 keyword is too much. So, you know, some are weak and some are strong. So which are weak? You have written the paper, you have read the literature, so you know which one strong, which one weak. This is again based on perception. There is no hard and fast rule. So in my case, I know my contents. I talk with my students. If I feel that some keywords are weak, maybe some are strong again, I discuss with my team member, with my students, and then finally we decide maybe up to 5 keywords, and by combining all those keywords, probably we can form a title. So this is my approach. And then in most cases, for my students' thesis and also paper titles, if we feel that titles are not that catchy, so then I ask them to write 3 titles, and from there, we mutually agree, discuss, and finalize final title. Sometimes these are some of the challenges we face, like title is too long, as I mentioned, not attractive, not appealing, contains mathematical jargon, too general, too specific, does not reflect the content. So these are some of the checklists. When you write your title, try to check these things by yourself with your team members. Probably this will improve up to a certain level. You can see here, I put a good examples of 2 titles: thermal energy conversion in nanofluid. It is short. It is there is no mathematical jargon. I think in general people can understand. So thermal energy conversion in nanofluids. And there's another title, A Guide to Writing Articles in Energy Science. And I also suggest you read, you download this paper. This is in Applied Energy. This is also how to write papers. This is published in Applied Energy. As you know, Applied Energy is one of the top journal in the field of energy and fuels. So its impact factor is 8 point something. It was published some time back. I don't know exactly date, but you can download this paper and you can read. Actually, I have taken some of the content. I have read this paper since I have to prepare these types of slides. So I get the helps from literature as well. So I suggest you read this, A Guide to Writing Articles in Energy Science. Okay, this will help you also in-depth writing, improving in your writing skill. Now I'm moving to the abstract. Again, this is an important element, but again, there always will be rooms for you to improve. Because of this, it might not be rejected. But again, if good abstract will attract the readers to go into the deeper of the paper, and this might help you to get your paper cited. It should be short and precise, giving clear indication of what investigation has been described in the manuscript and precise conclusion to entice the potential reader. So as short as possible. But as you can see in the last sentence, so in journals, normally they gave you some guidelines, so 150 to 200 words. So you follow that guideline, that will help you to maintain it short and precise. So here, don't put each and every detail. So in the next slides, actually, we will give very clear-cut, structured way of writing an abstract. So when I was writing, when I was learning, so nobody actually taught me what should be the content of the abstract. So I'm glad that now you are fortunate. Universities are organizing these types of online talk, offline talk, and this basically is very much helpful for your improving your writing skill. Okay. So what happens when you write? Normally, these are the things based on my experience. After supervising so many students and collaborators, I feel sometimes it is not structured because each of the component has structure. Okay. So when we go to build a building, so it has base, it has beam, it has column, it has roof, so many things. So it has to be in a systematic way. Similarly, this paper abstract also has a structure. So if we know the structure, actually, it will help you very much to write it in a proper way. sometimes not balanced. Balance, as you can really understand, maybe you write everything on results only, no objectives, no background information, and everything only methodology. So it becomes imbalanced. Sometimes it may contain also emotive term, huge, significant. These are not major things, but again, some reviewers are sensitive because we are scientists. We always looking for actual number. For example, significant. It is a statistical term. To someone, maybe it is 100 is a significant, 50 is a significant. To some people, maybe it is 50 is significant. So to me, if you write exactly number, let's say some numbers or values or percentage. So in my case, I can write it is 10% improvement. So this value is 20 kilowatt something. So if we put exact value, factual factors rather than this emotive terms, I think that will be scientifically, I think will be stronger. Sometimes no major findings at all. So these are some of the things happens in some cases. So this slide is very important. You can take snapshot. You can keep it. So this is very important for early career researcher, even those who are experienced and does not know how to write a structured way of writing abstract. But some publisher basically ask specifically. I think this one I took from Amaranth publisher, and some publisher basically ask you to write in a structured way. I think that is a good guideline. This will help you to write in a more structured way, more proper way, more balanced way, as I mentioned in the earlier slides. So there should have the paper also a guide to write the articles in energy science. This paper also will tell you when you write this abstract, introduction, and so on. Actually, there is a proper guideline. So in the background information, in the component of abstract, so a few sentences, as you can see here. So basically, there are 2.5 sentences. So you can limit yourself. So two sentences or 2.5 sentences, maybe maximum 3 sentences. So then you put the objectives. So again, here you may have 3 objectives, but write in 1 sentence here. Methodology, as you can see, 2 sentences, but they put a little bit more on results, findings. I think that should be the focus, because researchers, scientists looking for your findings basically. So this can be a focus. So major findings with some conclusions and some limitations might be also can be given here. So as you can see, what should be the structured content of this abstract? So there should have some information about the background, objectives, methods, results, and conclusions. So this will help you to write a good abstract. I hope this will be very much helpful for you. Now I'm moving to the main structure. So this is again I have taken from literature. Probably you heard already that the structure of a manuscript, it is called IMRAT. So conclusions and abstracts are not included here because those are the minor content. Basically, the major contents, as you can see, in terms of number of words, also or normally introduction, it can be 2 pages, single space, 4 pages, maybe double space. So that's why these are major content. And to me, particularly, methods, results, and discussions are the major contents and components. So this is how the IMRAT came. Probably you can remember, remind yourself. I stands for introduction, M stands for methods, R stands for results, A stands for okay. So I'm not going to talk much about this thing. So it's just for your information. So now I'm moving to the second important element is the introduction. Introduction basically will provide the context, the readers that clearly why your work is important, particularly the importance of this work. Okay, introduction section should contain a brief statement of the need. Again, you see that it's important. Need for the investigation. Why you need to write this paper. Importance, need, review up-to-date literature, and specific objectives. So up-to-date, latest, relevant literature are also important. This section should reflect that. This is very important thing. And specifically, I will put little bit more time on this originality, uniqueness, novelty, how it differs from others' work. This is actually the major challenges now even we are also facing. We always start from the very beginning, what would be our novelty, what would be our originality, even though we start from the very beginning, but sometimes reviewer does not agree with our originality. they dig out literature and they found something that it is not that much novel yet, it is marginally. So again, it is very important aspect that need to be addressed in this component of a manuscript. So in the introduction and normally at the later part of the introduction, this section should not normally contain more than 4 types. Again, it depends on the journal, but in my view, if single space, not more than 2 pages. If double space, not more than 4 pages. You can limit yourself somewhat as well, but this is again to restrict yourself. Sometimes you write your paper too long. So this is again to restrict yourself and also to follow the guidelines, author's guideline of a specific journal as well. So this is again very structured way. So since I have experience, I put my own content as well along with the literature's content as well. So I feel these will help you to write a good introduction. As you can see, we need some information about the few sentences, maybe 1 paragraph about the background, motivations, why these works are important. Some background and motivational information should be provided. Objectives and scope. This is very important because this is your aim, goal, what you are going to address, what experiments you are going to do. So these are important things. Sometimes you have done your experiment, you have done everything, but you have not highlighted. So then it will be hard for the reviewers to check and verify what were the objectives and what were the achievements in terms of conclusion, in terms of result and discussion. So basically this make your work little bit mismatched. So it will be hard for reviewer to understand actually what was your plan and what you achieved. Same thing for your thesis as well. So you have to be very clear about the writing the objectives. So in some of the slides, I will show you how to write objectives in a clear-cut way. Problem statement novelty, as I mentioned in the earlier slides, latest relevant references, application. So I talked a little bit about the latest relevant references. So as you know, some of the universities or colleges or research organizations, they may not have databases. So sometimes they put only the book, maybe literatures of 1980, all those are obsolete. So this actually will be very difficult for you to publish in good quality journals. But nowadays, I think because of this internet, there are Science Hub, there are ResearchGate, there are many other ways you can collaborate. So you can get the literatures. I don't think it will be a major difficulties, problems to get the latest relevant references. So what do I mean by latest relevant? Latest is for last 5 years. So now we are in 2020. Even I think some papers already appear for 2021 as well. So always go through various databases, ScienceDirect, Elsevier, Springer, Nature. So you know a lot of databases there. So you can check through your library databases and explore all the databases and relevant also. Sometimes you put whatever you like, but reviewer will check and identify that it is not relevant. So this might be a question also to be get rejected or to give a major comments. And there should have some application. We are in the field of engineering and science. So in most cases, so without applications, normally it is hard for us to publish. At Sunway, we build very impressive labs, but we are facing little bit difficulties with the application. That was our second phase, but hopefully we'll build this thing. So these are the things, since we don't have much application, even though we have high-end equipment, but in most cases, reviewer, editors asking there are less applications. So we don't recommend it to be published these high-impact journals, particularly something like Energy Conversion Management, International Journal of Heat and Mass Transfer, Applied Energy. But so far we managed to publish in solar energy and solar energy materials and Cell, some good high impact journals. So that's why application is important in some areas, particularly in our science and engineering. So sometimes I feel, based on my experience, so it is too long. That's why we put the page limitations there. Up to 4 pages can be double space. So don't write 8 pages. So again, reviewer will give you the comments. So this again, these are the rules of actually the collaborators, co-authors, supervisors. Unfortunately, sometimes we are supervisors, but we don't check our students' papers, our collaborators' papers. So these are also, we senior people also need to check whether this has been done or not. So it is our responsibility is to help the young researcher as well. Sometimes it's too general, does not reflect content. Again, these are the things I'm giving you. You ask yourself, once you prepare the first draft, second draft, then you ask yourself, have I put the content that reflects the whole thing I have done, or there are missing elements? So I think it is your responsibility. You put yourself you ask yourself, you pose a question that does the content reflects what I am going to do? Sometimes, as I mentioned, there is no objectives, and objectives are not clear, not achievable, not measurable. Of course, nobody taught you. So in that case, you are inside the ocean. So that's why when any new student comes, so I ask them, you have to write the 3 objectives or 4 objectives. So I give them first objective because this is the boundary. Otherwise, students will be inside the ocean. So he or she might get lost. So this is how I control. So then once the objectives are set, then students can go one by one in achieving the objectives. Sometimes not focused, novelty is not highlighted, latest relevant literatures are not provided, as I mentioned in the earlier slides. So how to write smart objectives? So I see the time is moving, so let me be a little bit faster. So these are the things also I tell you, actually, you see the best learning is the self-learning. Best motivation is the self-motivation. Actually, this, let's say 1.5 hours or 2 hours might not be that enough to give actually the publication talk. So that's why sometimes we give 1 day, 2 day also publication workshop at Sanu University, and we are also planning something in July. Actually to cover each and every aspects. Basically 2 hours is not enough, but actually to shed the light, to give you some of the understanding so that you can learn yourself. Again, all these things actually I started to learn since 2008. So I did my homework, I learned myself. This is how also I am training myself. So as I mentioned, you have to train yourself, participants, particularly the young researcher, postgraduate students, master students. So you have to train yourself. So nowadays of internet, so you put the keyword in Google, Yahoo, a lot of things will come, you digest, you read, you improve. So this is basically the best way. And also work with the strong people, good people, you get their opinion, you get their suggestions. This will actually make you very strong, very smart, and very seasoned and mature. So these are basically the right way of writing the smart keywords. So be very specific, measurable, attainable, result-oriented, timely. So I think you easily can address these things. So this is again, so these are normally when I was coordinator for Engineering Accreditation Council, outcome-based education. These are the things we need to address. But that was for undergraduate, but we are also doing master's, PhD. So you can see here the analysis, synthesis, evaluation. These are the terms basically we have to apply our master's, PhD, and research work. See, so these are higher level of achievement. Okay, so analysis, synthesis, evaluation. So these are some of the keyword you put in your objectives. I think that will make your objective stronger, higher level. So this is how we can differentiate. Even in the MK also, they mentioned the domain level, it should be up to level 8, 6, or 7. These are basically the domain level. 8 is basically this evaluation. So this again, you check this keyword. So Bloom's taxonomy, you can just put into the Yahoo, Google, so you can find all this word, and this will guide you to write good objectives. These are some of the examples that how we write objectives. So you start with the action verb to analyze thermophysical properties. So again, different people write in different way. This is my approach. You can write your own way as long as it is understandable. Reviewer feels okay, they agree, they gave you green signal. I think that's the important things. Okay. So to analyze, so again, you see the started with the action verb. So and whether these are really possible. So normally we do these things and these are feasible, these are achievable. So we design in such a way that these are really higher level to develop a mathematical model. Again, you see, we are going to publish in a high impact journal. So we have to put higher level. So mathematical model is really a good level of that Bloom's taxonomy. Validation, again, this is higher level to compare. So this is again, I have taken from the Bloom's taxonomy, and now I am experienced, so I don't need to use the Bloom's taxonomy. So this is how to write objectives in a proper, clear way, achievable, measurable way, and so on. So this one, I need to spend a little bit more time addressing originality, because nowadays it is very, very hard at the first instance. when you submit your paper, editor will go through, in most cases, in top journals, he or she will scrutinize and will say that originality is not high and it is not within the scope. But scope I'll be addressing later. But let me talk about the originality. So this need to be taken care very seriously if you want to be a prolific researcher, if you want to be a good researcher, if you want to publish in high impact research. So how to address this the novelty or originality?